Hello out there in YouTube guitar world. You're probably here because of the tricky title to this lesson that might have piqued your interest. My name's John. I've been playing guitar professionally for over 50 years. Back in the 1980s, I was a student at Berklee College of Music in Boston. And then after that, I was a full-time musician with bands on the road and giving guitar lessons back in the 1980s. But now, years later, I realized that a lot of what I was taught, what I was teaching my students, and the way I was playing was inefficient. I have had to adapt my ways over the years to learn how to simplify the physical motions on the guitar and cheat to get an easier and quicker result. So this lesson is focusing primarily on a lot of very common chords, but the most common one that we're going to go over today is the A major chord. So I hope you find this lesson helpful, and I think it's very valuable for beginners or intermediate players that may be having a little difficulty making quick and smooth chord changes. So the A major chord is critical as the root chord in the key of A, and it's also used in the keys of D and E because it is a relative chord that is part of the scale in those keys, and it is the fourth or the fifth of the key of D or E. So, and these three chords, A, D, and E, are some of the most common guitar chords that you'll play. So I'm going to give you a little music theory. A is the one chord of the key of A, and it's the 4 is the D, the 5 is the E, so like that. And in the key of D, G is the 4 and A is the 5. And in the key of E, E is the 1, A is the 4, and B is the 5 or B7th. So those are very common chord changes, and A invariably will be going from A to D or A to E a lot of the time. It goes from A to G a lot, A to F sharp minor, but the most common chords that transition together are A, D, and E, in the key of A certainly, and then in the key of D and E, you're going to be playing an A chord somewhere in there. So there's a strong relationship of A being used in those keys. So let's look at the tab for an A chord. As you can tell, this is the fingering that's represented all over the place. 1, 2, 3. And you mute the low E string so that it doesn't sound, or just don't pick it. Now, it's a wrong representation of how you should play an A chord. It's just wrong. It's inefficient, not effective, and just plain wrong. Because the A goes to D from this to this, or A goes to E from this to this, your hand has to make a lot of movements. Your fingers have to change position on every string. They go from the 2, 3, and 4 strings to the 1, 2, and 3 strings, depending on how you count them. And from those 2, 3, 4 down here, and they all change string. So what I'm telling you is, don't play the A chord this way. It's totally inefficient. You need to reverse the first and second fingers like this, keeping your fingers close to the second fret so that the pitch is correct, and then you got an A chord this way. The magic is, when you go to the D chord, your first finger stays where it is, and those two move, and you get the D. So, and as a matter of fact, your third finger just slides up to here. So 2 of the fingers remain on the same strings, instead of all fingers moving 3 different strings. So if you do that, it's much quicker, much more efficient. So that's A to D. Now A to E is similar, where the first finger stays on the G string and just slides back to the G sharp in the key of E. So A, E, and your fingers do not really change their physical location per se, because those 2 fingers just shift like that. So A, D, A, E, A, D, it's a very efficient way to play it other than this, which is A, E, A, E, A, E, A. Now if you watch this, when I play the A chord, my elbow has to go out because my wrist has to turn to play that A chord. That's not very helpful. That's a big waste of motion, and it can just slow you down. D, A, E. But in this format, your wrist and your elbow stay in the same position. And you can... So it's much quicker. So what I'm saying is, start practicing your A this way, or even the 2, 3, and 4 fingers, because in the key of E, that might be handy if you're going to a B major chord, which is a true B major. Then you don't have to go. Makes sense. So learn to do things and cheat, so you make it easier to play the chords. It will save you a lot of time and effort, and it'll make your transitions much smoother on the guitar. So I hope you found this lesson helpful, and I'll be back for more. If you want some more lessons, put it in the comments what you're interested in learning, and I'll be glad to give you a hand. Thank you very much.